Holy Martyr Nikolay Kobranov was born on the 10th of May in 1893 in the village of Blagoveshchenye of the Rogobushsky county of Smolensk province in the family of deacon Jacob Kobranov. After graduating from Smolensk Spiritual Seminary, Nikolay entered the University of Warsaw to study law. In 1918, Nikolay Yakovlevich was in the Crimea, where he was a chorister in the Cathedral of Simferopol, and then served to the Bishop of Tavria as a subdeacon. In Simferopol in 1920, Nikolay Yakovlevich was ordained a deacon, and a year later was ordained a priest. When the army of Wrangel was retreating from the Crimea, Father Nikolay decided to stay in Russia and served in a church in one of the villages of Melitopol province. In 1922, the priest served in Novospassky monastery in Moscow, where his brother Eugen Kobranov was an abbot. From 1923 to 1925, Father Nikolay served at the Church of the Resurrection of Christ in the village of Voskresenskaya of Ruza district of Moscow province. In 1925, Father Nikolay was appointed a prior to the Church of the Holy Trinity in Kozhevniki in Moscow, being also ordained an archpriest. The church was built in 1689 and reflected the ancient greatness and charity of godly merchants' families. But in the beginning of the 20th century, the past greatness of the church began to fade, as many factories were built in that area. The number of parishioners decreased greatly, and the church was running out of money, so the new-coming priest tried to escape to another parish and considered this place to be unreliable and turbulent. After the godless revolution, things got even worse, and in 1925 the church was closed. For 2 weeks there were no liturgies until Father Nikolay was appointed. The first thing the priest began to do was creating a living parish. Father Nikolay served liturgies very often and preached after each of them. He organized theological discussions, inviting famous professors. These discussions were held in the evenings on Sundays, becoming true consolation for people in the time when there was much evil but lack of spiritual treasures. Upon the requests of Father Nikolay for praying, people brought miracle-making icons of Our Lady and Saint Tryphon. A group of constant parishioners who donated money for the needs of the church was created. It became usual when the prior of the church made his annual report about the spent money and the things that were done. The authorities watched the keen priest closely, and on the 28th of October 1929 he was arrested and put behind bars in Butyrka prison. Answering the questions of the interrogator, Father Nicholas said, "As a young priest, consciously, I do not aim any struggle against the Soviet authorities, and if I spoke to the faithful, I did it due to my religious beliefs and for the supporting of the Church." According to the 58th article of the Criminal Code, Father Nikolay was accused in anti-Soviet agitation. On the 20th of November 1929, special meeting of OGPU decided to exile Archpriest Nikolay to a concentration camp, and he was exiled to Solovki labor camp. When the prison term ended, Father Nikolay was exiled to Kazakhstan for the next 3 years. He returned in 1935 and settled in the village of Kukharina of Mazhaisk district. Visiting Moscow, he had meetings with nuns and abbesses, serving liturgy in a flat. For all this, he was blamed later. The 27th of April 1936, Father Nikolay was arrested and imprisoned in Butyrka prison. During the questioning, interrogator Bybus wanted to offend the priest and declared that even the wife of the priest considered him to be mad about religion and soon would ask for a divorce. "Don't worry, we won't make you a saint," he added with anger. On the 16th of May 1936, Father Nikolay declared to the persecutor about his termless hunger strike until his release. On the 20th of May 1936, the head of secret political department of NKVD promised the priest that a labor camp would be replaced with an exile. The following day, special meeting of NKVD sentenced Father Nikolay to 5 years of exile in a labor camp. In the summer of 1936 he was exiled to Ochtpetchlag in the town of Chibiu and then to the shore labor camp. On the 1st of December, Father Nikolay declared his hunger strike once again, demanding to replace a labor camp with a single camera or an exile. On the 9th of December, the head of the labor camp sent a message to the authorities reporting that with no opportunity to be incarcerated, the priest remains among the prisoners in the same barrack. Both his speeches and preachers corrupt the people there. On the 17th of December, doctors examined Father Nikolay and found him seriously ill, so the priest was sent to hospital. On the 21st of January 1937, the press sent a declaration to the head of the secret political department of NKVD, Timofeyev. He wrote, "Today is the 130th day of my hunger strike. Bible said that serving liturgy at home is a crime. I won't betray God up to my death, and I cannot agree that serving liturgy in any situation can be a crime. I won't agree with Bibles that I should register my prayer in a civil organization after church was separated from the state. I'm a legal priest who was elected by people, and in this sphere I obey only to the bishop I have." The declaration was left without any response, but Father Nikolay continued to demand to be imprisoned in a single camera if there was no chance to be released. At last, the persecutor declared that the requirement of the priest would be fulfilled. On the 15th of July, Father Nikolay stopped his hunger strike. But after such a long hunger, health conditions of Father Nikolay were so bad that doctors left him at a hospital. The head of the registry department, the former party member, who was sentenced to 10 years of imprisonment, reported that the priest crossed himself before every meal and in the morning prayed defiantly, standing in the corner, that he wore a cross and drew much attention from the administration of the hospital. On the 16th of August, despite bad health conditions, Father Nikolay was discharged from the hospital and sent to work with the rest of the prisoners. On the 27th of August, he was accused in anti-Soviet agitation. Father Nikolay refused to plead guilty. As the majority of the time of the imprisonment, Father Nikolay was at the hospital. The head of the hospital made a report on the priest. He wrote, "The priest obeys the hospital regime, is religious, and tries to fast and pray if he is able to do that." On the 11th of September 1937, during the interrogation, Father Nikolay said, "I cannot stand the hustle and bustle of the modern life. It doesn't matter if I am sentenced either to life imprisonment or death penalty. I am ready to accept everything, but I don't want to be released, as I feel myself to be an outcast in the modern life." On the 29th of September 1937, the NKVD Troika sentenced Father Nikolay to death penalty. Archpriest Nikolay Kobranov was executed on the 21st of December 1937 and buried in an unmarked grave. He was canonized in 2001. Both being free and being exiled, Father Nikolay sent his poems to his spiritual children and parishioners. Here is one of them. Pray on the day when you are happy, before your feet in hard times pray. Pray when the evil will happens, when you are embarrassed also pray. Pray on the day when you are humbled, and when in danger also pray. Pray if you ask for those who love you, and for the enemy you pray. Pray if no virtue is in soul, if you are proud also pray, and pray before your dear headstone, for soul of a newborn pray. Pray in the midst of temptation, if overcome yourself you pray, when there is no consolation, for being saved by love you pray.